And welcome everyone to Magic Pod Squad. Pod Squad is brought to you by Kia, official vehicle of the Orlando Magic. Myself, George Galante, we are beyond excited to catch up with this man. Rafer Alston, skip to my Lou, 11 NBA seasons, and of course, one very meaningful one here in Central Florida, that 08-09 finals run. Rafer was a huge part of that. We'll get into all of that, but first, Rafer, it's great to see you, my friend. Let everyone know what you're up to. I know you're living in Houston, and catch us up on what you're up to now.
Yeah, living in Houston, Texas still. Past couple of years, I was scouting Timberwolves. Even while I was doing that, I was coaching my son's AAU team, the sixth graders. Well, I had them since they were fourth. And just doing that, a lot of staying in basketball as much as I can, as best I can, and just trying to help out where I can.
No question
Rafer,
about
we only do the podcast with guys with 8 trophies behind them, a minimum trophies behind them. So you qualify. You definitely qualify.
Thank you. What I do for y'all is when I know y'all interviewing the other guys, I make sure to tell them to go get some of their old trophies and dust them off and put them behind them.
That's right. Well, let everybody know, what are those? You got, for those that are just listening and can't see, he's got a bunch of trophies behind him. Where do those all come from?
A lot of these trophies are pretty much all my son's trophies for the team that he plays on, and I have the luxury of coaching them, and they I was just, as you say, they do their fair share of winning, and
yes, they do.
They do a lot of traveling. It's not just local. They do a lot of traveling in and out the states, so it's good. It's great watching them, and it puts you in a mindset when they're playing and I'm coaching that. You remember the times when you were the age playing the game, and I try to instill in them that all the guys that they idolize, the Steph Currys, the Damian Lillards, because my son doesn't idolize me because I'm not up to date. So
come on now.
I'm old school to him. So, but I try to tell them that we all started from somewhere. So it's good to see them playing and working on their skill set in their games.
Now, George, if our kids Google us, it's going to be very bad basketball that they're going to watch. If Rafer's kids Google him, are you kidding me? Come on now, Rafer. He must have gone down that path. You are a street ball legend, an accomplished NBA player, went to an NBA finals. I mean, he has to have found all those highlight reels, right?
Well, he does. He finds it, but he'll skip mine. Like, he'll look at and skip it. He'll go to Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, all these guys, and now LaMelo Ball. So.
He's even gone past Steph and Dame at this point. Like,
oh my goodness,
next generation already.
Yeah, listen. Even I'm on the video game. He won't even use me on the video game not one time.
That's unbelievable. Rafer, I'm reading this book. It's called Loose Balls. It's about the ABA. And it mentions a lot of street ball, and New York City legends that came up playing, right? So Connie Hawkins and Roger Brown and just a lot of legends. And I think about what you kind of get a little bit of an idea what it means to be a legend on those parks in New York City, but to have lived it, Rafer, and to be the legend that you are and to come up with Skip to My Lou and what did that mean to you? Kind of paint for everybody a picture of what it means to play those games with the audiences that you drew for a pickup basketball game in New York City.
Well, it was so surreal for me because for me playing out there in the playgrounds and playing against a lot of these older guys and guys my age, I was young, so I didn't really grasp everything until I got a little older. For me when I was playing out there, you get all the names: the Connie Hawkins, Julius Erving, World Be Free. The list goes on. And then guys that didn't really have that storybook NBA career, the Joe Hammonds, Fly Williams, Errol Manigault, all these guys that were phenomenal out there on the playgrounds that attracted thousands of people to the park. When I was playing, I just thought it was the New York City way of life in the summertime. That everyone comes to the park, watch us play. They heckle you, or is either they're gonna give you a nickname and love you, or they're just gonna heckle you and talk trash to you. So I just thought, like I said, it was a day in the life every day in New York City. It wasn't until I got older I realized what I've done, who I was when I was playing out there, what I've become, and what I meant to the whole landscape of street ball, New York City basketball, it didn't dawn on me until I was older, playing into the NBA, and I have days where I can just sit back and reflect and realize, wow, I captivated everyone's hearts and souls and minds out there every time I was playing. It's hard to go realize that when you're out there playing, because you're playing against some really, really good basketball players. Even though the world of basketball didn't see these people make it to the NBA, these are some fine basketball players out there.
Now, Rafer, that's where you really got into everybody's homes, was through the playgrounds and the And One mixtape. When do you start working on the ball handling? Maybe that's not as conventional as you would learn at a basketball camp. I mean, because you were doing some things that, you don't, I mean, nowadays kids are doing all kinds of crazy things, but it was unheard of back when you guys were putting those mixtapes together.
Well, for us in New York City, it's almost from the time you're introduced to the game of basketball. It's one thing that we, in New York City, you're almost bred and taught that's what you're gonna be. Especially when I was growing up, it wasn't basketball, football, it was basketball. So we never really put the ball down. Even when we left the park in the summertime, it's nighttime, we'll stand in front of the building and just keep dribbling the ball and finding new things to do with the basketball. And then when I got to junior high school, I came across some Pistol Pete Mavericks tapes, and I would watch it and go out there and try to do everything Pistol Pete was doing with the ball, and then try to incorporate it in the game. And that's how it all derived. But one thing about growing up in New York City, it's very hard, to put the ball down. Growing up in the 80s and 90s in New York City, it was very hard for your friends and older people would never let you put that basketball down. So we always thought of some creative things to dribble and handle that ball. And we had good guys to learn from it. And when I was young, all our idols, we didn't have to go far to look for idols.
Sure.
We had Mark Jackson, Rod Strickland, Pearl Washington,
Right.
Ern Fleming. We had so many guys we could learn from just in our area.
But then to be on that level, Rafer, and then to surpass a lot of those guys that were your heroes and your legends, I mean, it had to have been surreal. And then obviously you said you get a nickname or you get heckled. You got a nickname very quickly. You amassed a huge following. I love the nickname. I love how you worked it into your game, and it must have been surreal to have been on par and then surpass all of your heroes.
Well, the good, I did go and play and make it to the highest level, which is the NBA.
Of course. Right.
But those guys, because of, and the bad is playing street ball, is because we're growing up in the confines of where we live at in New York City. The areas are not as good. We're poverty, crime, drug infested neighborhoods. So a lot of those guys succumb to the streets, and which enabled them not to go as far as I. It wasn't because they didn't have the talent. These guys had the talent to play in the NBA, especially before me. But because of going another path, it kind of hindered them from going as far as I. Believe it or not, a few of them had opportunities to play. Some of them did get a peak in the NBA, but again, because of the other life and lifestyle, it went the other route. So, I was fortunate to, go away from New York City. I went to junior college in California. I stayed in California to go to Fresno State University, and then I got drafted in the second round. So I was fortunate to get away from everything that could pull me. Actually, that was pulling me back, because street ball became my outlet, because I didn't have the storybook high school career, because of the same things that were pulling these guys back before me was the same thing that was stopped me from having that illustrious high school career. And so I used the street ball, and I played so much basketball on the streets of New York City to keep my skills sharp, my IQ of the game sharp. And then, once I went to junior college, I started to, buckle down, focus in, locking on the books, and, the rest was history.
So how do you get that look to go to junior college in California, Skip? Like, where does that break come from? Because clearly, I mean, in your mind, that's your break, right? You got out of the city to go to play junior college in California. Like, how does that happen?
So for me, it happened because, my first 2 years of high school, I did play. Like my sophomore year in New York City, I was one of the baddest guys. I averaged 25 points per game in New York City. And so I was being recruited early. Okay. So even though my grades and everything slipped, some of them same schools still was, going to keep an eye on some of the same high school coaches and coaches that I played AAU ball. They knew a lot of junior colleges. And so it wasn't going to be hard for me to get that break to go to a school. It was just which junior college would I go to and where. So AAU coach of mine by the name of Gary Charles, he thought it'd be best for me to go far west to California to where I could, lock in. Even if it's the funny thing about it, going out west was that even if I was to get homesick, back then, it's not like today. You hop on the internet, you find you a deal to fly back $200. No, back then, if I got homesick and I want to come home, it might have been a $1,500 ticket.
Right.
And remember, the airlines are different, so it might have been on TWA.
You're right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, Continental, one of them airlines back then. It fly all the way back five hours back to New York City. So it helped me grow, to be far away from home. And once I got that break and went to junior college, it helped me grow as independent as a young man growing into a man. Because now, you had be responsible, held accountable all your actions because you don't live out here, But I had to find a way to make it home.
It's interesting. I grew up in Boston, and it was a culture shock to come to the South. It's different, right? And what's the culture shock going from New York City out to all the way across the country without any family? What was that experience, and how was that transition for you? Couldn't have been easy.
The experience was different because I wasn't actually in LA. My first junior college I was in small town Ventura. So like when on your way to California, you thinking everything is like LA. Or, and I come from a huge city. So it was a small town, county and everything. And it was more laid back. I come from a place that everything's open. You can get whatever you want any hours of the night. And so when I was in Ventura about 7:30 o'clock, the whole city shuts down. There's a lot of things you got to get used to. But it was easy to adapt because I knew what I was there for. I was there to go to school and play ball and then enhance all the other areas in my life that I didn't get a chance to enhance while growing up in New York City, so even like for you going to South, even now till this day, I still learn a lot of things that I didn't have the chance and luxury to do in New York City, like fishing, we're not fishing in New York City.
No, you're not.
Nowadays, when people say out here in Texas, let's go fish, I'm like, man, take me. And to them, it's just another day in life for them. But for me, I'm super excited. Like, come on, let's go get the fish. Let's go clean them, cut them, fry them.
You want to experience everything, all of it.
Yeah, so even out there in California, I've experienced a lot of things that, you wouldn't experience in New York City.
So now you make it, Rafer. Everything works. You got it out. You put your head down. You go through school. You do what you have to do. And now you made it to the NBA. The goal is realized, right? You have so many friends back home, so many family members. Do you think about the ones that didn't make it? And you think about, what are the emotions that come to mind when you've accomplished everything that you could possibly want to accomplish and you're in the NBA?
Well, when I heard my name on draft night, even though I didn't go first round, it was still an amazing feeling. It's like a dream come true. Everything comes over you. Everything flashes before you in the split second when your name's called on draft night, whether it's first round or second round. And you think about the time when you're a little kid playing ball and you're on the playgrounds counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You think you're Magic, Bird. You think those are our guys we love. We love Bird, Magic. Like I said, I watched Pistol Pete Mavericks tape, so all that comes over you. Like, man, it's finally here. It's finally arrived, and all the guys that, like I said. All the guys that didn't make it from the playgrounds, now they're looking at me as, I'm the guy that gave them hope. The next kid coming up behind me that may go down the same path as me as far as being a playground legend, like things like that. I'm giving these guys hope now. Like, man, this can be done. But then in 5 minutes, that all wipes away because in 1998, 99, second round picks, you had to make the team. So,
right. Sure.
A lot of things it makes all that stuff. It just went by me because now I got to get back on the grind, and I got to make a good impression from day one. I hit training camp when I was in Milwaukee, so it worked. I was in great shape.
You know what's good? You know what's good? George and I would do the 5, 4, 3, 2, but we never made the shot. You would make that shot right on the play.
Yeah, believe it or not, I made some and I missed some.
Yeah, sure.
And that was the fun, but that was the fun part about actually missing it was the fun part. You know, I had no idea then missing that shot would lead up to, you know, being mentally tough when things happen on the court, right? So, you know, we had no idea. And, you know, when it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you miss it. But I remember going to the park, hurry up and go run and get the ball and do it again. So
I got you, yeah.
We had no idea. Even you guys probably do it. We had no idea we were strengthening our mental toughness. You know, instead of, you know, now when I watch my son do it, he slams the ball. And I'm like, do it again.
Yeah, right.
Try it again.
That's fantastic.
Do you think that helped you? Like, okay, when you get drafted in the second round and then you don't make the team and it takes you, you know, a few more years to make it to the NBA, do you think that mental tough, you just had this mental edge that you were going to make it? Like at some point, I may not go to college right out of high school, or I may not, you know, get drafted in the first round. Like that just wasn't a big deal to you, right? I'm sure it was a big deal, but you know what I'm saying? Like you were so mentally tough that like you were just looking for the next thing to knock over so you can make it.
Yeah, definitely. You know what also makes it mental tough? First, before all the basketball part, it was growing up and going through all the things that you had to endure growing up as a child and kid in New York City. And then playing as a child and a teenager going up in New York City, because everything is said to you. You can only imagine what sets us on those playgrounds and what adults, you know, so it prepared me for college. And then, you know, the one thing about when I was in the NBA, because, you know, on second round, I was tough because it always going to come down to, can I play? And I had so much confidence in my game. I stayed in tip-top shape. So the only way I wouldn't make a team or play is because of, you know, in NBA, it's not that many slots, and teams have guys on guaranteed contracts. So, I mean, like I said, when I was drafted in Milwaukee, the first year, it was only 2 spots really left to make. Mm-hmm. And a guy by the name of Darvin Ham and myself, we were the last 2 guys. And
how about that?
Both of us were in tip-top shape. And you guys know Darvin, he's big, strong. So we were fortunate. It was like 7 of us, you know, because in the training camp, it's about 17 guys on the team trying to make back then it wasn't carrying 15, 14.
That's right.
Carrying 12.
14.
12 or 13, 14, okay.
Yeah. And now you can carry like 16 guys or something like that, I think it is now. But back then we were sweating every day, man. It was, and Darvin and I were staying in the same hotel, man. It's like, now let's just get something to eat and get some rest.
You know, Rafer, this is going to sound strange, and I don't know. I'd love to get your answer to this. We work hard. You worked hard your whole life to provide an unbelievable life for your kids, right? And George and I, we work hard to try to help our kids we coach our kids playing basketball too, and we want them to not have to go through difficult times. Do you wish that your kids could experience some of that, just a little bit of that failure, just a little bit of that, you know, not failure, but, you know, coming up a little bit hard, a little bit difficult, so that they know what it means when they finally make the team? You know, instead of, we try to shield our kids from so much. Would it be nice for the kids to experience some difficulty along the way?
Or does he have his own obstacles now, being the son of an NBA player? That's different obstacle that you didn't have.
One, definitely, you know, I wish they can go through some adversity so they know how to handle it. Because unfortunately for me at times, and you guys know, you know, you can see my bio in NBA, there's times where, you know, I would go through things in my travels in the NBA or even in college sometime. And it wasn't so much what may have happened or what I've gone through or put myself through or others may put through. It was how you handle it that was going to determine, you know, my fate and how far I'm going to go. And I struggle with handling things the right way sometimes. So I would love for these young men and women sometimes to go through a little struggle. Maybe nothing crazy, nothing so.
Right, of course.
But something that could, you know, get them to be tougher and stronger when it comes to handling things the proper way. Like I said, my son sometimes, even on a court with him, when things aren't going his way, he has this dejected, pouting look on his face. I'm like, you got to keep a straight face, keep playing. The game is still going on. You know, it's not going to be good or apples and peaches every time you hit the floor. Some of the best players struggled in some certain games. So, you know, and for him, to the second part of the question, it would be tough on him to be a son of an NBA player because everyone expects you to be good. You know, the other kids' parents, I remember one time a guy I'm new to all that because when I was young, they weren't ranking 5th and 6th grade kids, but nowadays they do.
Crazy.
So
Wow.
they asked me, which one is my son? I tell them, and well, he's got great potential. It's gonna be tough. And then all of a sudden we look down the line, and he's like the number 50th or 58th kid in his class. And to me, I'm like, that's great, because you know how many kids that's playing ball in your class? There's thousands.
Sure.
There's thousands of you kids. And so, but then I had to catch myself like, well, wait a minute. Why are you ranking kids at this age? And then I had to teach them, they're gonna expect you to be special out there. They don't care about the process you have to go to get to that point. They expect
You're
you
right.
to skip to my Lou right now. They don't understand. Even myself have to work to be skip to my Lou.
It's not fair. I think about, we pull strings. We want the best for our kids, but sometimes I think it's good for a kid to get cut from a team. It's good for a kid to learn, right? To learn how to fight and to earn it.
Hey, look, I played my first 2 years was in Milwaukee. After my 3-year contract was up in Milwaukee, I went to training camp with Golden State Warriors. They cut me. Do you know that's the first time in my life I had to deal with my so-called rejection in the basketball world? I've never been cut from a team in my life. I was always, remember, a lot of us that make it to the NBA, 95% of us, we were the man in the public school. We were the man on our 5th and 6th grade team. We were the man in middle school. We're the man on the high school team. A lot of made all city, all state. I was the man on the junior college. I was junior college.
Yeah, right.
I was one of the men besides, myself, Chris Herron, Boston, Massachusetts, Fall River, Massachusetts.
Right.
He was the man. I was the man in college. And then now you get to the NBA, a lot of us face our first time of so-called basketball rejection, whether it be you got cut or now you go from being a starter your whole life to now, oh no, you're the 13th man here.
Right. That's a different.
You don't go through it. It's tough for us to deal with that. Man, I go from playing every day in college, averaging 35 minutes, and now I'm getting 5 DNPs.
Yeah, right.
My first 3 years, I had to learn how to deal with that and keep ticking. I had to come every day in the morning. I had to practice start at 11. I'm there at 10. I'm already in a sweat working on my game. I stay an hour late. I'm still not getting no run, but I had to keep at it. Then, lo and behold, by the time my 4th, 5th year came, I was a starter the rest of the way. And just imagine if I wasn't able to deal with that so-called rejection back then.
You're right.
I would have been out the league.
Well, it's so easy to blame everybody else, right? I'm not getting a fair shake. I'm not getting this. So what click? Was it Toronto? Was it Miami? Where did it click? Where did something click? This is where I can make a living. I can be a starter in the NBA for a long time.
No, believe it or not, it clicked when I was with the Bucks because the good thing about then is I had veterans in front of me, and I'm talking about veterans.
That's true, right?
The difference between veterans now and then. These kids, veterans, a 21-year-old man. These kids are going to the league at 18. By the time they're 21, 22, they already got 5-6 years in, and
that's crazy.
They were full-time starters from day one, right? When I came to the league, my veterans.
But you need to, and you're right, and that's my fault because you need to let everybody know. You're talking about Sam Cassell, Ray Allen. You're talking about some of the biggest ones to come through. You're trying to carve out playing time, right?
But even besides those guys, I'm talking about guys that I was a young kid watching in college. Danny Manning, J.R. Reed, Scott Williams. I was watching these guys at North Carolina in '88, 87, 88.
That's right.
I watched Danny Manning in the championship '88 in my living room. Wow, Danny, they call him Danny in the Miracle. So now I'm on the team. They're like almost on the tail end of their career, right? But they schooled me. Right? They let me know because in practice they saw me. They saw me go to work on the Sam, and they saw me go to work on something. I had Benny Del Negro. They were working. Guys, I was watching play, and they told me your time will come. And that when they were telling me those things, I knew that this almost the business side of it too. For this business for a coach too, because a coach really, George Karl's a phenomenal coach. If I'm coaching NBA, I might trust my veterans before I trust a young player. So it wasn't the only frustrating part was not getting the minutes. But then when you think about the grand scheme, it wasn't frustrating because I knew what was going on because I was schooled by veterans. They were every day they would say, man, Skip, your day gonna come. And just to hang in there, but it really happened when I got the 10-day. So after I didn't make a team with the Warriors, I was cut from the Golden State Warriors. I had went to the D League, it was the D League then. I think I was down there averaging like 16, 17 points. I played 5 games in the D League and I got called up for 10-day with Toronto. And once I got there, I hit the ground running. And that's when it really hit me that not only could I log some backup minutes, I could be a starter in this league. Because I had a stretch where I was getting 20 points per game for like a 5 or 6 game stretch there. And one of my 20-point games happened to be against the Bucks.
Oh, yeah, of course it did. Yeah, of course it did.
Dante just happened to be against the Bucks.
Yeah, it just happened to me.
It just happened to be the Bucks. And the beauty of that day was that all those guys I met came up to me and they gave me a hug after the game. They beat us. And they said, man, we're so proud of you. And we knew that you could do it. And you know, that was the beauty of that 20-point night.
Well, then, Rafer, what if, and some guys don't get that? Some guys don't get those good vets like that. What happens to the guy that's frustrated with his playing time and doesn't have Danny Manning, all those guys in his ear saying, your time's going to come? Do you kind of sympathize with those guys that maybe don't have that from
I definitely sympathize with them. I was a vet to some of those type of guys. I mean, one time I looped ahead and John Lucas III, they were my backups in Houston. Sure. And remember, Luther had just come from playing with Illinois and playing a lot of minutes. They went to the Final Four and everything. So I know it's tough for him. And someday I come into the practice facility and I can see the dejected look on him. And I had to remind him, hey, you're not the only one that's ever going to go through your career. I did. But with your question, I would encourage those people to go talk to the coach, talk to the assistant coaches, because a lot of people don't understand those guys have open door policies. Mm-hmm. Right? You're on their team. They want to help you figure this thing out and see where you can play, where they can find you minutes. They're going to let you know the things you need to work on. And real strong stand-up coaches, they're going to let you know too. It's nothing personal. I trust these guys. You know, these guys been in this league for years. They know what it takes to be a professional. They know how to win in this league. They know how to utilize their time in this league. And that way you understand where you have the level you have to get to, not only with your game, but with your habits and, understanding what it is to be a professional.
All right, Skip. So you spend time in Milwaukee, Toronto, Miami, Houston. So then you fast forward to 2009 and you get the call that you're traded to Orlando. What goes through your mind during that point? And I mean, I was there with you in Charlotte when you showed up for the game and they gave you number 36 with no number on the back, or no name on the back.
You should still tell them now that was a crazy jersey number they gave.
Right there. And plus I also remember the armpits seemed like super, super long.
I think it was the jersey length and everything was for, I think, a small fold or a power fold.
For sure.
Oh my goodness. That's what they gave you.
It might have been the only jersey in Sid's bag that night. I think that didn't belong to somebody.
Right.
So take us through what you're thinking as you're coming to Charlotte. You're joining this Magic team who's playing great basketball at the time. What's going through your mind when you get to Charlotte?
So what going through my mind actually was I already knew what coach wanted. I already played for coach. We coached Miami, coached Stan Van Gundy. And so I didn't have to learn the total new system. Only thing I needed to learn, so the whole flight there and everything, the only thing I kept playing on my mind is learning Dwight and learning to play off of Turco Glue. Rashard was going to be easy because I already had a feel for him because I said, well, I know I can pick and pop with him. I know we can just post them if they switch. So playing that game with him, it's kind of like playing a pick and roll with Tracy McGrady. It's like if they switch, then I'm gonna throw it back to McGrady and let them wheel him down. It was easy with him and I. That was the biggest thing, and I was excited because I'm going from one contending playoff team because people forget that in Houston we are title contending team when healthy. So with Yao, McGrady, myself, and all those guys helped Battier when healthy. We're a title contending team, and I'm going to another title contending team. So. It was easy to throw the ball to Dwight in the post. I had to work on my lob, and Van Gundy said, throw the lob. And at one time, him and I got to it, and I'm not telling him, like, I'm not Jameer Nelson. I don't throw lobs that good. They can throw them. So him and I, one time in the middle of a game, was going back and forth. He wanted me to come through and just throw it up. I'm like, I like to shoot my teardrop.
That's right.
So, afterwards, we were having fun. But my whole mindset was just lead them from a point guard standpoint. And the one part that I wanted to try to continue to do was be able to knock the three down because I knew they would double Turk Blue and these guys at some point. The beauty of it all is those guys made me feel it made me feel right at home. Right at home. The players, the coaching staff, which most of the guys on coach staff I had before, and then all the personnel working with the Magic, you yourself, everybody that worked with them, everyone made me feel at home. So my transition was easy. I'll give you one funny story is that I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Otis at the time, GM, but I tried to milk my stay in the hotel as long as I can. I tried to get the Magic to pay for it the whole time. But these guys let me stay there for February all the way to April. Then when they realized we were going to go far in the play, or they felt we were going to go far, they made me get a condo. And I'm sitting there having an argument with you. Why do I have to find me a place to live now when I stayed in this hotel from February like 15th or 16th, whenever I got to Orlando, all the way to April.
That's exactly right. You know what's interesting? Because the Magic were having a great year, and then Jameer Nelson goes down. He was an all-star that year. And yes, it was so deflating in this town, knowing that, you lost Jameer. And we loved Anthony Johnson. We knew he'd do a great job, and he did do a great job for a couple of games. But you saved the season, Skip, coming here and playing the way you did and keeping everything together without knowing these guys. You never played with these guys before. Could you feel it grow and build as you started to get more comfortable? Could you feel the city embrace what you were doing and your team embrace you? And could you feel that you were getting better and you could be something special?
I felt it. I definitely felt that. Whenever I went out to eat, sometimes I get gas. I mean, the fans let me know their appreciation of what I brought to the team. Even though I wasn't the all-star type of player that Jameer was having that season, they really respect what I brought to the team from just a total all-around point guard standpoint, but on both sides of the ball.
Yeah,
I mean, and it was growing, and then each round of that playoff run, it was just pandemonium out there, and it was just unbelievable. I had a better respect and understanding of the fan base each round and even before that, even as we kept that playoff was approaching, I had a better understanding of the fan base. It had me one time even go watch a film of when the last time they made that run with Penny and Shaq and those guys, and I saw how loud that arena was. Yeah. But for me to go around town, go out to eat, and have people come up to you and say, "Man, we appreciate you, man," because before I was coming over, I can imagine how some fans were happy, some fans might not be, because it's not like I had the numbers or stats that, I wasn't averaging 19 points per game and 10 assists a game. Sure. So I can understand some people being like, well, he can play, but I don't know, but then when they had a chance to see me out there and mesh with those guys and see that, oh no, everybody relax. I know, Jameer's gone, but relax. We're gonna be all right.
But you
didn't. They were hurt.
Really...
They were hurt until they knew we were getting you. We were getting someone to come. That was the thing. We were like, oh, Jameer's down. What are we gonna do? Then when we knew you were coming, we okay, we might have something here, and we kind of put something together. It was just such a special run. I think about that Cleveland series, Rafer. How much did that mean to you when you think about all the talk was about LeBron, all the talk was about Cleveland? I don't remember you guys or all of us really being given any hope of winning that series, right? By national analysts and all that. But you guys felt completely different about that.
Excuse me. Well, we felt it because we knew matchup-wise, the matchup favored us. Matchup-wise, it favors us. But because that was LeBron, and also Mo Williams had an all-star year. Yep. And the way they were playing, I mean, their roster was phenomenal. You got two all-stars, and you got, veterans that could fight out play. Delonte West was playing at all-time high. Jonas Gauskas was playing his role. They got guys off the bench, Zerbiak. But if you look at the matchups as a team, what they didn't want to realize, it favored us, right? So the low post game really favored us because Dwight was better down there. He was unstoppable when he played with the Magic. Who could really keep up with Rashard Lewis on their team, right? Conventional power forwards couldn't really match up with him, so you couldn't put, I forgot who they had at power forward at that time.
They have Bergeau? Did they have Bergeau?
Yeah, Bergeau couldn't keep up with him. That's a bad matchup. That's a bad matchup, right? And then having a playmaker like Turk Blue makes LeBron and them have to play defense too, right? And if you don't play Turk Blue, if you go under, he can hit the three. If you chase him over, he's so big. You forget he's 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". I think he's 6'10". And
6'10",
he
right?
can really go and finish, and he can see the whole floor. So, and then if you double him, we had shooters all around the court, right? We had shooters coming off the bench, Petrus, Reddick, right? We had shooters in the starting lineup. And at that time, I was knocking the three ball down. Then on the flip side, defensively, my main thing was against Cleveland was I was going to make it hard on Mo Williams. And everyone saw that series. And Anthony Johnson and myself, we made it tough on him. I mean, he was shooting low 40s, high 30s, he usually shooting mid 40s, high 40s. So we made it tough on Mo Williams, which that was the game plan. LeBron was going to get his, take the rest of those guys away. Then, we should have, people don't understand this. And I know it may sound cocky. They should have been swept.
Yep.
Yes, really.
They should have been swept.
Should.
Yeah, the funny thing about that series, I watched game 2 yesterday, and I'm sitting there like, wait a minute, we could have swept these guys.
Yes, that's right.
These guys were lucky to get that game, because remember, if they don't get game 2, they don't get any games. We didn't give them They didn't have Orlando. As long as the little, I can't forget her name. As long as the little girl kept singing that national anthem,
That's right.
people didn't stand a chance.
Did you guys feel that? Little Gina Marie in Candela. Remember that? Did you feel that when she came out there and sang that anthem?
I started feeling it when it was brought to our attention that every time she sang, we very rarely lose. So I felt it too, because I realized she was gonna sing. I started jumping around. Yes, keep it going. And the way she kept singing that national anthem, it was phenomenal. Man. She had a phenomenal voice.
All right, Skip. So we had Anthony Johnson on a few weeks ago, and I brought up the fact that, when they used to do their starting lineup, the Cavs, they would stop and take this, they called it, I guess, the family photo or whatever the hell they did when they were done, and they would stop and LeBron would shoot. And then when we won and we beat them in game 6 at home, because I'm going to ask you, because you're in on our picture,
right?
AJ couldn't wait to jump in your arms and flash the out, and nobody talks about that. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole post-game celebration, and I feel like the only 3 people that maybe know about it are me, you, and AJ. Like, that was my favorite part.
But the funny part, all the guys knew it, but it was all AJ. I give AJ that. I give Anthony that. Anthony couldn't wait to do that, because it did bother us, because like I said, when they started doing that, they did it game 1 at their place, and we're like, oh, so they don't really care. They're damn us on that other side of that court, right? So they think it's gonna be easy, and so I tip my hat, kudos to AJ for thinking that, man. And then I'm sitting there with this man in my arms, somebody else holding him, he's right there. I said, oh man, but it was so much fun. I mean, that's one guy, man. AJ, probably the consummate professional, such a team guy, man, and man, he had a long career. Man. And, man, one thing, like I said, you bring up these guys' names, like some of them, like AJ, I haven't seen since then. I can't wait for them to do the reunion and we all get back together. I love it.
Sure, exactly. AJ hasn't shaved since you last saw him. We just saw him a couple weeks ago.
I can't wait to see it.
You know what? It's funny. You mentioned Hito, and Hito's still mad because he should have been the hero in game 2. He's still upset about that. He hit that big shot, and if it wasn't for the miracle that you just mentioned with LeBron, you win game 2, and you probably do. You're right. You probably sweep the series. How critical was Hito to the whole thing, making the whole thing work?
Hito played a major factor. I'm talking about if you look back at it, I would say Hito and Dwight would be the MVP of that run. It's not to discredit none of our other guys, because Rashard Lewis was phenomenal. I had my days out there, and every series I've put my stamp on every series. But Hito, the things he was doing from a point forward standpoint, because he was playing point forward. And look, like, I never had the chance to play with him till then. And I had great respect for his all-around ability when I played with him in Orlando. And Hito was big time for us. That every series he came up big. I remember once I was so mad one time, even though we had the game in hand, we were without Dwight and Courtney Lee playing in Philly, and everyone thought that they was going to win. JJ came out firing. I think I had like 24 points to this. Rashad's firing, and Hito's doing this thing, and then Hito gets thrown out. I'm like, No, don't get thrown out. But then I realized at that point he got thrown out. We already had the game in hand.
Right. You're exactly right. You know, you mentioned AJ, and I've heard you say it before. You got when Jameer was healthy and came back in the finals, you guys were all happy. You guys were all wanted Jameer back, but you wanted to find a way for AJ to play too. And I think that's kind of the sense we got from him. You know, had there been a way, because what you and AJ were doing was special, that 1-2 combination. And if you could have added Jameer into that mix, you still could have found a way to make that whole thing work.
That's one of my biggest disappointments. That's the only disappointment of all three of us being there, is that the job AJ was doing the time Jameer got hurt, and then the job he still was doing even when I got there as a backup. It was phenomenal. And for him, and it's tough. Look, I hate to be a coach and have to be in that situation. I'll tell you that right now. I tell him I had to stand back. I hate to have to make that decision.
Right.
Unfortunately, man, it was tough, even for me to look at AJ right there. Sometimes on the bench, not getting the playing time in the finals. That was tough that was a tough pill to swallow, not for him and for myself and all of us. However, we were excited to get Jameer back. We knew he wasn't going to be in a rhythm. Because having not played in so long, it was going to be tough to get in a rhythm against arguably the best team in the league. Obviously, whenever you win the championship, you're the best team in the league. You got to give you your credit. And it was going to be tough. It was going to be tough for him, man. But we loved it because you never get – this is what we played for, a chance to make it to the NBA Finals.
Yes.
You never know if you're going to get back there again. Obviously, you guys are still down there covering the team and all. They haven't been back since. So that's why we were so happy for him, because this is a dream come true for every last one of us. And for him to come on and be able to walk on that floor and have his name called and wear that uniform in the NBA Finals, and all his friends in Pennsylvania and St. Joseph. And
absolutely.
That's what really was all about, because, again, I remember reading the book with Dan Marino, and he went to the finals at the Super Bowl as a young. He said he took it for granted, thinking he was going to get back there the next year or the year after or whatever, and he never went back ever again. And Stan, Otis, and the rest of us, man, we celebrated the fact that Jameer was going to come back, because look, this could be it. And unfortunately for the Magic, that was the last time to the finals.
Unfortunately, it has been, right?
Unfortunately, it's been a while. You know, Rafer, I think about it. It's so tragic what happened with Kobe. But you have a finals series against him. You know, do you cherish that even more, that you played one of the greatest to ever do it, and you got to go up against him in a finals?
Oh, definitely. I cherish it. I show my son. I show even parents when they ask me about when did I play. And that's the first one. So I played in the finals.
Right.
I can go back to all other things I may have done in my career. And think about it. I was on a team that won 22 in a row. The very next year in Orlando, they traded me to New Jersey. I was on a team that lost a record straight in a row. So I've been on all sides of the coin with this NBA thing. But the one thing I tell people when they ask me, some parents when my son is playing is, man, I played against Kobe Bryant. I played in the finals.
Exactly right.
And not to mention, I tell people, and I scored 20 points in Game 3 on Kobe Bryant. I'm in the finals.
That's right.
That's right. All on Kobe too. All 20 of them were on Kobe.
Well, and also that's the first finals game the Magic won. So you were a big part of their first ever finals win. So you can add that to that as well. George, I miss those days. Oh dear Lord, do I miss those days?
I do too.
I miss them, and the memories are wonderful. Because like I tell you, just yesterday I was watching Game 2. There's some days I can sit in the house if I don't fall asleep right away. I'll watch Game 7 in Boston. I'll watch Game 6 in Philly. The good thing about all this is if I don't have the tapes, some of the games are on YouTube. So I was like, no, let me go to Game 3 or something.
Sometimes I dream about it. In Game 2, in my dreams, Courtney caught it and dunked it. He caught it.
Was that one?
That's game 2 because we got blown out in Game 1.
Oh, yeah, we got blown out in Game 1. Yeah, Game 2. If he'd have just dunked it, it is funny because on the plane ride home, we were telling that you dunked on LeBron when LeBron would chase you down.
Yeah.
Dunked the ball. And I'm sure with Courtney, that replay probably plays over and over in his mind, because if we win that and then we turn around and win Game 3, then Games 4 is a different dynamic, because now they have You know, because if we take 2 or 3 in Orlando, this thing is over. You know.
Yeah.
I agree. You guys had it rolling, but but you never know. Maybe it would have been a historic game from Kobe, and you know, it's hard to say, but no,
it
we were
wouldn't
gonna win.
have. No,
We were gonna win.
We would have won. We would have won.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair
Now I'm
enough.
sad. Now you're making me sad.
No, it's a great run. It's great. It's great memories. Rafer, last thing, when you're still coaching, right? You still get a chance to coach. Or how much? What do you tell kids nowadays? What's your message to these kids that you're teaching, the next generation?
Well, I tell them too that you have to go out there and put the work in. And unfortunately for them, they do have severe distractions, and the distraction is technology. You know, we didn't have how we growing up, so everything was go to the park or go to the gym. So it was every day. You know, I don't care what city. Say in Boston, I had a lot of friends that lived in Boston, even when I was 12 and 13 that I met. They lived in Roxbury, Dorchester. They were playing basketball, and I had a chance to go there. And I said, "Oh man, this looks like New York City, Roxbury." Yeah. So I'm like, right. You know, we didn't have technology. We had to play every day. And these kids, some of them think they're gonna wake up tomorrow and be LeBron, or wake up tomorrow and be Steph Curry. I'm like, these men we put countless hours into this. You know, it's like school. You know, you got to get up and go to school every day. You got to do your homework. You got to study every day. Basketball, sports is like that too. You got to do this every day. Work on your game every day. So that's what I instilled in them. That you got to embrace the process, embrace the work. Don't just look for the ending part. You know, because you know, even with myself, everyone sees the ending part. You know, oh, he played the NBA. You don't know the road and the process that it took to get here. And that's what I try to instill the kids is, man, if you could build that work ethic and embrace the process and understand that it's gonna be some bumps in the road, you're gonna be fine.
That's good words, Dante. I'm trying to think of another player in our Magic history. Skip was only with us for like 4 months.
That had this kind of an impact in 4 months.
But he has such an indelible imprint on this franchise that Skip, you were a pleasure to be around, man. It's
and I miss it. I can't wait to get back down there. I remember one time before you guys go is that I remember I came back with the Nets and played against them, and the ovation I got when they introduced me in the starting lineup that they gave me, you almost brought tears to my, like, man, and I almost wanted to run down and like, why did y'all have to trade me?
Yes, we're still asking that. I don't know why that happened.
I 4 months I fell in love with Orlando because, you know, all this time, even my years playing the NBA, it's like, you think Orlando, you're like, okay, they got the team there and they got Disney. But when I lived there, I said, wait a minute, this is phenomenal. This is wonderful. You know, because if you're not living there, you don't spend a lot of time there. All you think about, Magic is there and they have Disney. Mm-hmm. They have beautiful golf course. You're like, okay, right. You know, but yeah.
No, you're right, man. Well, everybody, when they talk about that finals team, they bring up Dwight, of course, and you talk about, and the first thing everybody says doesn't happen if you don't get Skip. If you don't make that trade,
I still run down the hall yelling at people, why'd we trade Skip? There's nobody that listens to me anymore.
Yes,
but
exactly. And you know what? We got fishing. So we're going to get you down here. We're going to have you come to some games, and we're going to take you out fishing down here. I think.
I love it, man. I love it. I can't wait.
Great. Well, we appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And thanks so much for giving us this time. This was great.
Thank you for having me. Anytime.
All right. This podcast brought to you by Kia, official vehicle of the Orlando Magic.